If you've ever spent 30 minutes looting an entire house just to find 3 cans and a broken knife, yeah, I've been there too. HumanitZ looks peaceful on the surface, but if you don't know what you're doing, farming resources can feel like a full-time job with no reward. The thing is, once you discover the right places and the right moves, everything changes. You start accumulating supplies faster than you can use them. So today, I'm going to show you 10 ways to farm resources much faster, because your time is better spent surviving than searching. I'm Mary, and the video is about to start. If you want to stop wasting time searching houses that give you nothing useful, pay attention to this tip because it will completely change how you fight for resources in this game. Garages, workshops, and industrial zones are the richest places on the map when it comes to construction materials and vehicle parts. Seriously, while everyone else is wasting stamina in suburban houses, you could be filling your inventory with the things that actually matter. When I started prioritizing these areas, the difference was massive. Garages and tool shops have a very high spawn rate for nails, various tools, and car parts, which are exactly the items that disappear fastest from your stash when you're building or repairing vehicles. It's the kind of location worth revisiting every time the loot respawns, because you'll rarely leave empty-handed. What makes these zones even more valuable is the combination of items you find in one place. In a single loop through an industrial area, you can get construction materials, leftover fuel and abandoned cars, duct tape and trunks, and tools that will last for hours of gameplay. You don't need to make 5 different routes across the map when a cluster of garages already delivers the essentials at once. My recommendation is simple. Always plot your loot route to pass through these areas first, before anything else. Keep this priority order in mind, because when you finally reach a residential house with your inventory already half full, you'll realize how much time you were throwing away before. Industrial zones aren't just convenient, they are the shortcut that separates those who survive from those who thrive in HumanitZ. If there's one thing I've learned playing HumanitZ, it's that the sledgehammer is one of the most underrated tools in the entire game. Most people pick it up thinking only about breaking down walls or clearing paths, but few realize it is literally a resource farming machine when applied in the right places. Abandoned cars are scattered all over the map, and they aren't just obstacles in the middle of the road. Each one is a mobile depot of scrap metal, sheet metal, car batteries, fan belts, and engine parts waiting to be collected. With a sledgehammer in hand, you can destroy these vehicles in a few hits and leave with an inventory stuffed with material that would take much longer to get by searching building by building. What makes this method so efficient is the scale. When you find an abandoned parking lot, a clogged highway, or an industrial area full of car husks, it turns into a literal resource festival. In a matter of minutes, you accumulate an amount of scrap that would normally require an entire session of conventional looting. It's the kind of farm that feels almost unfair because it's so productive. My practical tip is to always carry a sledgehammer as a secondary tool during your loot runs. Whenever you come across a cluster of cars, stop everything and spend a few minutes destroying as many as you can before moving on. Over time, you'll develop an instinct for it, and your base will have more metal and scrap than you know what to do with. Food is one of the resources that puts the most pressure on the player in the early hours of HumanitZ, and most people depend exclusively on loot to survive. But there is a way to turn the game completely in your favor without needing to leave the base every time the hunger bar drops. And it starts with a simple structure called the compost bin. With just 6 wood and 10 nails, you can build a compost bin, and from that point on, all that spoiled food you would normally throw away gains massive value. Toss it into the compost bin, let the process happen, and you'll have high-quality fertilizer that drastically accelerates the growth of your crops. It's basically turning trash into agricultural fuel, and it works better than it sounds on paper. What makes this method truly powerful is when you combine fertilizer with the farmer profession. With this combination active, plant growth reaches a level that seems almost absurd. Your crops grow at a speed well above normal, and in a few hours, you already have a continuous production of food that sustains your base without you ever having to worry about hunger again. It's the kind of setup that completely changes the rhythm of your game. My recommendation is to prioritize this system early on, as soon as you have the basic materials available. Many people leave farming for later, as if it were a minor detail, but the truth is that when you have guaranteed infinite food at your base, you can take more risks on loot runs without the stress of racing against the hunger clock. The compost bin is small, cheap, and changes your game from start to finish. Water is silently the biggest bottleneck in the farming system, and I only realized this when the plants stopped growing and the food stock started running low. The problem isn't a lack of water on the map, it's knowing how to use each type the right way so nothing is wasted and everything keeps running at max speed. The solution starts by building several rain collectors near your base, and the cost is ridiculously cheap. 4 wood, 1 tarp, and 1 rope per unit. The more you place, the better, because the passive collection of rain scales directly with the number of collectors you have installed. It's the type of structure you build once, and it works for you while you do other things. Now comes the detail few people know. Plants prioritize dirty water to grow, and they respond much better than when they depend only on rain. So, grab dirty water from wells and ponds on the map and use it directly on your crops. This unlocks much faster and more consistent growth without depending on any weather cycle. Meanwhile, save all the clean water exclusively for drinking, using coolers to manage your thirst without wasting the wrong resource in the wrong place. When you separate these functions intentionally, dirty water for the plants and clean water for you, your farming stops having interruptions and starts running like a well-adjusted machine. It's a simple system on paper, but in practice, it solves the problem that stalls progress for many people. Set this arrangement early, place collectors in bulk, and you'll never look at a withered plant in your base again. If you want to set up a serious food production at your base, the first step isn't planting. It's getting enough seeds to make it worth it. And the good news is that the game hands them to you on a silver platter if you know exactly where to look on the map. Farmhouses, tool sheds, and especially greenhouses spawn seed packets for carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, and other vegetables in an amount that will surprise you the first time you explore properly. In a single run-through a plantation area, you can get more seeds than you would spend hours trying to find scattered across the entire map. What makes this method even more efficient is the consistency. It's not a rare spawn or occasional luck. Greenhouses and farm sheds are programmed to have this type of loot with high frequency. So every time you do a run through these areas, you can expect to leave with an inventory full of packets ready to plant. Open everything you find and take them back to base planted already without waiting to accumulate them. My suggestion is to include at least 1 farmland area in your regular loot route from the start of the game. Many people ignore these regions, thinking they are slow or unrewarding, but the truth is they build the foundation of your self-sufficiency faster than any other strategy. Seeds in bulk are what turn a small garden into an infinite food operation, and the map gives you this opportunity for free if you know how to take advantage of it.
Ammo and refined materials are 2 of the hardest resources to keep in stock, and most players depend almost exclusively on loot to get them. The problem is that loot runs out. Respawn takes time, and when you need zinc to craft bullets, you don't have the luxury of waiting. That's where the pickaxe comes in as one of the most powerful tools you can have in your hand. The secret lies in knowing how to identify the right stones before you start mining anything that appears in front of you. Dark gray rocks usually contain iron, Stones with silver veins or lighter coloring indicate zinc, salt, or coal. When you train your eye to read the environment this way, you stop wasting pickaxe durability on stones that give you nothing useful and start mining with much more efficiency on every outing. A detail that few people notice is that areas around properties with many stones scattered on the ground yield more material than looking for specific nodes in the middle of nowhere. These smaller, more accessible stones give refined iron, coal, and zinc in surprising amounts when you stop to work directly on them. And when you find the specific mine rich in zinc, you can plan an entire session just for mining and leave there with enough material to craft ammo for a long time. My recommendation is to always carry a pickaxe as part of your standard kit on your routes, just like the sledgehammer for cars. Whenever you come across a good concentration of rocks on your way, stop for a few minutes and work that area before continuing. Over time, you'll mentally map the best spots, and zinc will stop being a problem and become exactly what it should be, the base of your infinite ammo production.
There is a perk in the HumanitZ skill tree that I consider mandatory to unlock as soon as possible. And surprisingly, it isn't a combat or crafting perk. It's Powerlifter, and it is probably the choice that will most impact your farming speed for everything in the game. The problem I faced was always the same. You're in a good area, full of loot to take, and your inventory fills up before you finish exploring. Then comes the trip back to base, the time lost in transit, and by the time you return, the rhythm is already broken. Powerlifter solves exactly this frustrating cycle by drastically increasing the weight you can carry per run, which in practice means double or even triple the items collected before needing to head back. What makes this perk so valuable is that it doesn't just improve one specific thing, it improves everything at the same time. More wood per run, more metal, more food, more tools, more car parts. Any farming strategy you use, whether it's mining, looting garages, or gathering in industrial areas, automatically becomes more efficient with Powerlifter active. It's a universal productivity multiplier that works for any playstyle. My recommendation is simple. When you open the skill tree, prioritize Powerlifter as your first or second choice before anything else. Many people leave it for later, thinking combat perks are more urgent at the start, but the truth is that carrying more resources per outing accelerates your entire base progression much faster than any damage upgrade. You'll notice the difference on the very first run after unlocking it.
In the mid-game, one of the smartest ways to advance quickly is to stop treating all loot as if it had the same importance. In humanity, there are items that exist almost solely to become currency in the right hands. And once you understand this, progress starts moving much faster. Binoculars, masks, compasses, and better clothes stop being cool things to find and start being shortcuts. The right way to use this is to do short, objective runs. Instead of picking up everything that appears, the idea is to focus only on high-value items, return quickly, and turn everything into truly useful resources. This type of route is much more efficient because you trade volume for quality, and that saves a brutal amount of time. What I like about this strategy is that it cuts out much of the dependence on luck. If you need car parts, seeds, ammo, or some rarer material, you're no longer stuck with that feeling that the game needs to cooperate. You create the solution yourself. Take what sells well, go back to the trader, and convert it exactly into what is stalling your base or your progression. For me, this is the kind of tip that separates a slow farm from a truly smart one. When you start playing with this mindset, loot stops being just gathering and becomes planning. And this change makes a big difference, because the mid-game stops feeling like a sluggish phase and starts flowing, as if you were always one step ahead of the game.
If you want a route that mixes resource farming with character evolution at the same time, the airfield is the kind of place that completely changes the rhythm of the run. It's that spot on the map where everything seems to yield more, because you're not just eliminating zombies for the sake of it, you're turning combat into real progress.
For me, this is one of the most satisfying strategies in HumanitZ precisely because every minute there seems to count for 2. The big differentiator of the airfield is the zombie density. You go in knowing there will be targets at all times, and this makes your XP go up much faster than in areas where you spend more time walking than fighting. When the area is full, it feels almost like a perfect grind route, because besides the constant action, there is always a chance of leaving with ammo, equipment, and items that truly make the risk worth it. Now, the detail that makes this strategy even better is using a silenced weapon. This, for me, is what transforms a chaotic zone into a much more controlled XP farm, because you can take down enemy without pulling half the map at once. Instead of becoming a noisy disaster, the run stays clean, efficient, and much safer, which helps a lot when the intention is to stay there for a long time and extract as much as possible. And the most important thing is the ripple effect of it all. The more you level up, the sooner you unlock perks that increase carry weight, improve gathering, and make every other type of farm much stronger. So it's not just about killing zombies at the airfield, it's about accelerating everything that comes after. I like this tip for that reason. It doesn't just deliver immediate loot, it makes the rest of the game start moving faster along with you.
When I think about wood farming, one of the things that weighs the most isn't even the cutting itself, but the time lost going back and forth with a small load. In a game where managing resources and travel greatly affects the efficiency of progress, optimizing transport makes all the difference. That's exactly why the Nord T1000 feels like more than a common vehicle. It practically becomes an extension of your base. What I like about this idea is that it attacks the right problem. Cutting trees usually isn't the hardest part. The annoying part is felling several logs and then realizing you'll need to make a bunch of small trips to take it all away. With a cargo vehicle like the Nord T1000, this step stops being a nuisance and becomes a much cleaner process because you can fill the truck bed and turn an entire gathering session into a single, truly valuable delivery. For me, this type of vehicle totally changes the rhythm of farming because it reduces that feeling of broken up work. Instead of cutting 2 or 3 logs and already thinking about heading back, you keep producing until you really feel the outing was worth it. This makes wood farming much more satisfying because you feel that every minute invested is truly yielding results, rather than being wasted in transport. If I were organizing a resource routine in the game, I would make the Nord T1000 a priority as soon as possible for any phase focused on construction. Wood disappears fast, especially when you start expanding the base, raising structures, and thinking long term. So having a truck that carries many logs at once isn't just a comfort. It's the kind of advantage that accelerates your entire progression without making a sound.